Hey, welcome to the Junk Project. I'm your host, Michelle Hill, and today we have the awesome opportunity to be talking with Amy Carlson. Hey, Amy. I'm like, wait a minute, it's Hesper. And I was just reading your name and I'm like, oh, that kind of threw me off.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. I know I always throw everybody off, so no worries.
Okay. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I appreciate you having me on the podcast this morning.
Oh, I've been wanting to get you on for a long time. I think you're just an amazing person. I follow you on Facebook. I mean, not stalkingly, but I follow. And, you always have just encouraging posts and I just love it. I think it's really neat. And you have something coming out November 3rd or 4th or 5th. I was like, which
It's,
day is Friday? I forgot.
it's November 4th.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I have my very first book coming out next Friday on November 4th. And the title is called Love Yourself Like God Loves You. And it was a labor of love to write that book. And just a little bit of backstory. It was a long journey. Of course, for the majority of my life, I never really felt accepted or loved in a way that made me, feel like family or friends really loved me. Growing up being bullied in high school, of course, left me with a lot of, no confidence in myself. I hated, my reflection in the mirror. And of course, from some mental and physical abuse at home, I just never felt very worthy, never felt truly accepted. And so, about, last year in June, I had went through another season of just rejection after rejection, here and no, where things that I was trying to make happen just did not seem to be working out. And I got back in a really bad place mentally and was like, I'm never going to amount to anything. I don't know why I'm here. What am I supposed to do? Because every time I try to do something, it's not working. I'm trying to make, things happen, but it's just like roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And I just kind of got sick and tired of being sick and tired of feeling that way, thinking that way. And of course, I'm very spiritual, very deep seated in my faith. And whenever bad things would happen, that's kind of where I always retreat. I always go and lean on God, because whether somebody, here accepts you or loves me or is there for me, I know he always is, regardless if he, I can physically see him or, even feel his presence around me. And I just got deep into reading devotionals again, and I took a break from Facebook. I deleted the app off of my phone and dove into reading just different devotionals on topics of love and acceptance. And through that, just started writing, just kind of like started journaling thoughts out on paper. And then it just kind of came to me. It's like, well, hey, why don't you write a devotional book, on this? And so I did that for about 2 weeks. And then my grandmother passed away, and that one was really tough, because she's the reason for my faith today. And I put the book down, and I probably didn't pick it back up for maybe 2 to 3 months. And And then, of course, in November, my mom was diagnosed with cancer again.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of times where I'd pick it up. I may write, a day or two, and then I'd put it back down. So it's honestly, it really has been a labor of love to get this book out to the world.
I think it's really awesome. And when I was listening to your story, I think it's so relatable. So many people have been in the same position and been bullied and made to feel like they're just not important, and that nothing they do matters. And so I think it's awesome for you to write something that gives people, not gives it shows them, hey, you are worth this. Hey, it's okay. Don't hold on to these things that these people say. That's what I've learned in my life. What somebody else thinks of me just doesn't matter to me anymore. For the most part, I've learned life is short, and I want to be fun and crazy. I don't want to be stuffy and normal, if that's what normal is. So,
Yeah.
I love it. I love that people can have your book and use it to build themselves up,
Mhm.
and so
Yeah.
I think that's really neat. And it's exciting that it's coming out. Is that, see, I'm so confused because normally we do the Apex on Thursday. And
Mhm.
so it's throwing me off that we're having the awards night on Thursday and the Apex on Friday. And I'm like, it just like threw a wrench in my whole week. So I'm just like, I don't even know what day is what. And, I'm trying to make appointments, and I'm like, anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm excited to get to see your book on Thursday.
Yeah, I know. And actually, there's been a little bit of a hang up with Amazon. So I haven't even been able to order my author copies. So, so I may just have to go through and get those through the normal channel and be able to have some on hand, which is fine.
Mhm.
But it's just nothing ever goes exactly as planned, and you just gotta kind of be like, okay, well, that didn't work out exactly how we needed it to, so let's do this instead. That way we can continue moving forward.
Right. Yep. Yep. Well, I was going to ask you something else. Oh, I wanted to ask you about your art. I see all your beautiful art in the background. So
Yes.
I want you to share with us and my listeners what you do, and that you do sell your art. It is available.
Mhm.
I did buy a piece. It is in my office, my studio. I am at home today because it's raining and my internet is shoddy in my other place. So here we are. Share with us your art.
Uh, okay. Well, my journey to art started a little bit in high school. Of course, when you'd get home back then, there was no internet. So it was either you keep yourself occupied doing something, or you went outside and played until mom called you in for dinner. And so that started really as just like splatter paintings on a piece of paper, really abstract, like no real rhyme or reason with
Mhm.
that. And, that kind of went to the wayside, got a little bit older. And of course, you get preoccupied with friends or boys or, going out, hanging with friends, things like that. So it kind of got shoved to the back of my mind. And then later on, probably about uh, 2006, 2007, I picked up and did a little bit of amateur photography.
Mhm.
So that was my creative outlet for a while. And a lot of it was either nature, like out in the yard, either my pets or, trees or flowers or things like that. And then I got into doing portfolios for some younger people here on the coast who were looking to build a model portfolio. And I was in like a photography club, and we met like once a week and discussed different things. And we would, go to different places and just kind of hang out and take pictures. And, some of the older men who had been doing photography for a while, of course, kind of became like a mentor in that,
Mhm.
and had a lot of fun. And then even got to live a little bit of my dream
Mhm.
from high school of wanting to be a model, but never feeling supported in that. So, got to kind of step into that a little bit and model for some of the local photographers here. And so I had a lot of fun with that. And then in 2010, it was December, and I was like, you know what? I want to make something special for my mom and my sister-in-law. So I bought a jewelry kit from Walmart and had no idea what I was doing, but made some earrings for them. And I really enjoyed that creativity. And so kind of picked up with that and created like a little hobby business, and created jewelry and went to arts and craft shows and festivals. And so I did that for probably about 8 years. And within that time, I did a little bit of artwork. It was more kind of like a stencil and then painted in.
Yeah.
And then I had created an owl for a friend of mine. And that was probably the first piece that I ever really freehanded. And it just turned out really, really good. And I was like, oh, wow, I can do this. I am, creative. I can't, get that idea out of my head. And then, of course, work kind of got in the way, and that kind of took precedence. So I kind of pushed all of the creative ness, to the back. And in 19, I had been put in an accounting role
Mhm.
with my work. We downsized, and for whatever reason, somebody thought, oh, that's where Amy needs to go because she knows how to do accounting and budgets. And I was
Yeah.
absolutely terrified to go there because I'm like, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant. I don't know, what y'all are thinking putting me here. And it was a huge struggle. On one hand, I was like, oh, well, this is a really good opportunity for me. I'll be able to grow in my skills and learn new things. And, so I really put my focus into learning how to do my job for
Mhm.
one, and then just learning accounting in general. But it was a really big struggle for
Yeah.
me. And, I'm learning systems and processes and deadlines. And then I find out, oh, by the way, we're about to totally change all of the systems that we use and even totally change how we do our accounting.
Mm.
And so I was like, deer in the headlights. Oh my God, how am I going to do this? And so, trying to make sure that what I've been doing gets over into the new system correctly. And I was literally so, so stressed out because, I put all that weight, because, I'm expected to perform in my job. I'm expected, to do all of these things that I'm required to do in my job. And I felt really bad because I'm like, I still don't really feel I have a firm grasp on what I've been doing. And now I've got to make sure that this transcribes into new system.
Mhm.
And lots of conversations with my boss, and I'm like, I can't do this. I am so sorry. I have really, really tried, but um, and it got to the point after, after work, and of course in 2020 when, lockdowns and everything, and now I'm at home, and so I'm not getting to listen to conversations in the office anymore, and it just really sent me on a big nosedive. And after work, it got to where, I would get a glass of wine and then another one. And, I could tell that was building
Mhm.
to a road that I did not want to go down, because like my mom and my stepdad and even family members were alcoholics. So growing up, I saw, what that did to people and how they would act and what they would do. And I never wanted to follow in those footsteps. So I knew I had to find something different to do. I had to find a different outlet, and art became that outlet for me. So instead of, grabbing a glass of wine and drinking all night after work, I would go in the studio and I would create, all night. And it's just very therapeutic, because when you get in, at least for me, other people may be different, but for me, when I get in the studio, it's like every stress or every worry, every negative thought that I had during the day, it just kind of stays outside. It doesn't come into the studio with me. So my focus is 100% on whatever creative, thought comes to mind. It's like, oh, okay, well, let's do this. And so my focus is entirely on that: colors that I choose, what medium I use, how I do the paint that night, just kind of is able to come out freely, with all of that other head trash from the day, and would feel so much better after, a few hours in the studio.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't until recently that I even kind of discovered that creating, helps us to release dopamine, which of course is the feel good hormone. And I'm like, okay, well, no wonder I felt so much better, after a few hours in the studio. My body was actually working for me, not against me at that point. And of course, during the lockdowns, it's like everybody was so focused on all the negative of what was going on, the news. And so I started doing Facebook Lives when I would get in the studio and create. And a lot of people would join, and they were like, oh my God, that's so awesome. And, how do you do that?
Mhm.
And so it was like through that encouragement, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I am creative. And then I had a few people say, well, hey, I really like that. Is it for sale? Can I buy that? And at that point I was like, oh, okay. And so it kind of, came from there.
Mhm.
And I just absolutely love creating, but I love making people smile, and I love making people happy more, in some instances. So now it's like I create, and it just kind of goes hand in hand, because somebody loves what I do. And so my creation in turn continues to help them feel good, or, connect with memories or emotions, from whether they're past or current, or, even things that they want to happen in the future. They kind of get all of that from, whatever piece that they may have bought from me.
Yeah, I think it's really neat. I used to really be into crafts and things a lot, and I
Mhm.
haven't done it in a long time. But when I was raising my son, I always encouraged him to draw and stuff. And so some of the things I actually have up on our wall in our house is his art,
Mhm.
and some of it is unfinished, but it is like the coolest thing I think there is, and it was like when he was, I don't know, 6 or 7, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. So I don't care if it was just scribbly lines,
Mhm.
I've seen art that looks like that too. So I'm like, I'm gonna put this on the wall. But I think it's really neat. And like that, I guess it's a bird. I can't think of the bird. That,
This one?
yeah, it just catches me. I just think it's the coolest thing. Um, it's very hard for me to draw. So when my son was younger, I would do crafts for his class. If I did, if how did I have to do it? I couldn't just do a few. I had to do, I think, for the whole class. So it was always like 20 or 30 crafts
Mhm.
at a time, right? And I made Tigger the tiger from Winnie the Pooh. It took me actually 45 minutes to draw that freehand. And I'm like, I don't have time to do 45 minutes each time. So I made a template out of him, right? And so I would do stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it's been so long, I haven't fed that side of my life in so long. I don't even know if I could draw like that anymore. I haven't even tried. But I think it's so fascinating. I love art, there's so many degrees of art.
Mhm. Yes, definitely. And I would say you would be shocked if you picked up a pen or a paintbrush and started to create again. You might be pretty surprised at what you could do.
Yeah, I like doing what did I do the other day? We had a business expo. I didn't do anything super artsy other than I painted my hand red, right? And I took an empty box, like a zombie grabbed it, right? And I put
Mhm.
red handprints all over it. And so I
Yeah.
had a game and I had a dice. I had 6 boxes with prizes under it. And you had to roll that. I mean, it worked out really cool. It was fun. Um,
Mhm.
I do want to get back into crafts. I bought a Cricut. My stepdaughter thankfully knows how to use the Cricut because I'm like, oh my God, at this rate, I swear it's going to take me forever to figure it out because to me it's complicated. So I get
Yeah.
a little frustrated with it and then I put it back up. But there's so many cool things you can do with a Cricut, and I bought it to make promotional items, because I'm like, oh, that'll
Mhm.
save money. I don't know where I thought I'd have the time to do it, but hey, you know, here I am with the Cricut,
Yeah.
determined to
Well,
figure
maybe
it out.
yeah, maybe you can get your daughter-in-law to help you.
Yeah, we're on kind of weird schedules, but yeah, ironically, I see her about 2 in the morning. So I'm up at
Mhm.
that time and that's kind of when we talk and kind of do stuff. But yeah, um it's been fun trying to get back into crafts again. I love making stuff and giving it away. That is my favorite.
Yeah.
And it does make you feel good. And um I think for me, I would just rather have a handmade craft,
Mhm.
and something because that person put so much time into it and you know love whatever they put a lot into it. And so I've always thought that was really neat, just even with my business, just finding homemade crafts. Sometimes I can't keep them all, so sometimes it's real difficult to throw them out, but I do actually have one cool piece that was homemade, and I kept it not only because I thought it was cool, but I'm determined to figure out how he put it together. It's like a Tin Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was just about to ask what it was.
yeah. I know I have a picture of it in my phone, but it's like I didn't organize my pictures, so I'd have to find it. But it is actual, like, it's probably a foot and a half tall. And
Okay.
it's like the Tin Man from,
Wizard of Oz.
yeah, yeah. And, the feet are sardine cans.
Mhm.
The head is an old metal funnel, and I'm like, "Good Lord, I don't even know where you find those," right? I mean, So it's not like you go to the store and buy those anymore. So
Yeah.
I haven't figured out, what to do with that. The body is like a number 10, vegetable can, which, restaurants might use daily, but that's not a can size we use. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm still trying to figure out how to get these pieces because
Yeah.
some of them are just not odd. I don't eat sardines, so yeah, that's funky. Uh,
I don't eat sardines either.
and my son ate them for a while, and I'm like, he didn't get it from me. I don't know where he got that from because that was just weird. But hey, to each their own.
That's right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
anyways, it was just made with some cool parts. I haven't figured out how to get them yet, without having to eat it. Don't want to eat any of that.
I was going to say you don't want to eat a number 10 can.
No. Oh my gosh, that's so huge. I mean, I don't even think you could freeze the vegetable. I don't know. I don't know how it would. I don't even cook. So the kitchen is just questionable to me. Don't know how anything works anymore. I just get kicked out. They're like, "Oh, I'm very I like bland, chewy kind of food." So it's weird.
Well, maybe you could get with the restaurant or something and see
Yeah.
if say, hey, if you have an empty number 10 can, I'd love to take it off your hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought of that. Now I'm like, well, I'm just gonna wait a little bit. I'm hoping to just find one. So
Well, if I find one, I'll send it to you.
okay. But anyway, it's really cool. I think that's cool. So I see in your very background, it looked like snowflakes too on your tabletop.
um,
Yeah, those up there. So what are those made from? Did you cut those out as well?
these, so I don't know if you can see them
Yeah.
very well. No, these were actually they're a wood cutout.
Oh,
And
okay.
I actually just bought those from Hobby Lobby and then just put a crackle medium and I don't
Oh,
know.
that looks cool.
So I just did the crackle medium and of course, let that dry and take its crackle shape and then I used some acrylic fluid paint and put on there and so I think that's like a teal or a turquoise, sorry,
I
a
love turquoise.
turquoise and a little bit of gold. So so I've got those there and let me grab the other ones. And so those are different. These are the ones that I did actually in, I thought it was last year that I created these, but it's actually 2020.
Oh,
But you can tell the difference. And these are done more in the bloom technique that I do on a lot of my pieces. And when I got in here this year to recreate those, I was like, I can't remember exactly how I created this. And so what I was doing wasn't turning out how I wanted. And I'm like, I don't like that. Let's opt for a new technique this year. And so I did these with the crackle. And I don't know, I think I just like this more because to me, it just kind of represents like the snowflake design that you see in some things. That looks kind of like it has that crackle and just a little bit lighter. And so I'm super pleased with how these turned out.
yeah, I love it.
Um, yeah.
Do
So,
you
but
go ahead?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a holiday that you do your crafts better at? Like for me, Halloween is my favorite holiday, and so
Mhm,
I tend to try and do most of my crafts around Halloween, but I
mhm,
do a lot of stuff for door prizes too. Um,
mhm.
and so, but my favorite time is Halloween. So I've noticed I tend to do a little bit more crafts around that time as opposed to any other time.
Mhm. Um, you know, I've never, and it may be weird, but I've never really been one to really follow trends or do things in the manner of which they probably should be done for like holiday releases and things like
Oh, yeah.
that. Just because it's more of an outlet, and I'm not really trying to keep up with the Joneses,
Mhm.
as some people would say for some
Yeah.
things. It's just kind of like I do my thing, and that's how it goes. But I would say I've probably created more things in the fall, uh overall, just because for me the fall has always kind of been a little bit of a depressing time, just because of like the family members that we've lost. And
Yeah.
October was when we had lost my little brother back in '02. And of course, the change in the weather and things like that. So I think just fall in general.
Mhm.
And But if I had to pick, like, maybe I guess a holiday that I've created more specifically for, would probably be Christmas.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I love it. Yeah. I love spring. We don't really have a fall here, so I've
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
ignored that. We don't actually have much of a spring either. It's like goes to summer and winter, and that's about it. But I st-
Yeah.
I still like it. Yeah, I like the cooler weather in the fall and the spring.
Mhm.
So that doesn't usually last long. It's either hot or cold, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the same way over here in Gulfport. We have kind of the same weather that you guys there in Texas have. Of course,
Yeah.
I think may probably get a little bit hotter than what we do,
Yeah.
uh, but we don't have much of uh, much of a spring, much of a real fall.
Hmm.
So it's either, like you say, it's either hot, or hot as hell outside.
Excruciatingly hot.
Yeah, yeah.
And then hot.
Mhm. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it was so cool for you to come on and share your book and your art. I love it. And I will post a link of how our audience can get a hold of you. You are welcome to share, how they can get a hold of you now.
Well, people can either find me on Facebook or Instagram at Amy Hesper. And then my website, if anybody is interested in checking out the website, it's reflectionsbyhesper.com. And if you want to share a link for that, Michelle, you're free to do so. And of course, the book will be available next Friday on November 4th at Amazon.
Sweet. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you on here. I've been trying for a long time. It just never seemed to work out with our schedules. It was always crazy, something going
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
But I love watching you on Facebook. I love your posts. Everything is so motivational, inspirational. Your art, I mean, it's just beautiful. Um, it's just very cheery to me, especially that bird. I love that. I mean, it just takes my focus because I can tell it's like free-handed.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I'm fascinated with how people make things, including machinery. So I just think it's beautiful. But anyhow, anyway, thank you so much. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us.
Thank
And
you, Michelle.
yeah,
I appreciate you having me on this morning.
thank you. And so we will be talking with everyone later.